Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to see you.
You too. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, we've been exchanging likes and comments, on Instagram for years now, I feel. And
Yes.
I mean, I'm very happy to talk to you.
Great. Me too.
Fantastic. I mean, let's start from the beginning. How did photography come into your life? I mean, what was the trigger? What was the first moment?
The real trigger of serious photography was, I think, joining a camera club. And this is back in the days of film. So then I set up my own darkroom at home. And I was even at one stage doing Chrome color prints. So I was into it quite heavily. And then I was doing so much work, I thought that I would then apply to go to university and do a university course. So I did that at the Queensland College of Art for 2 years. And then I had a series of pretty awful jobs working in dark rooms and so forth. But then not long after I graduated, everything went digital. So, so then, yeah, exactly. So then, it was help with, how do I learn Photoshop and all the rest of it. But quite frankly, I prefer sitting by the computer than slaving away in the dark room. So I'm quite happy about it now.
Yeah. I mean, it seems that the dark rooms and all that kind of photo. I mean, me personally, I'm going for the end result of photography. I really don't care how it comes about. But what was your thought? Yeah, what were your thoughts in that kind of like transitioning period where digital cameras were really not that good? They were not. What
That's
were?
true. That there was something, I don't know, 3 megapixels or something ridiculous,
0.
And yeah, I did have. I worked for as a medical photographer for a while in a hospital, and they were slowly starting to introduce digital, but I didn't really get into it at all. And well, quite honestly, I can't remember when I bought I think I bought a Canon first, a Canon digital, and slowly taught myself Lightroom. But quite frankly, I learned on YouTube. I just learned by watching videos on YouTube, and I was watching one just before you rang about how to remove people in the background just using a paintbrush and a noise filter, which I didn't know about that. So that was fascinating. So you're always learning. I mean, if Photoshop's that big, I know that much. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping things simple in a Photoshop. I mean, really kind of like almost because I started with digital, but I'm kind of like an analog player in a digital game. Because I mean, I truly believe that what are your thoughts on like Photoshop versus getting the shot, immediately from the camera? I mean, minor things are always done, in a Photoshop, but
Well, that's interesting you should ask, because I think I was one of the first people that had a Polaroid instant camera, and simply because I just used to love to see the image right away, especially when I was photographing my children when they were young, So I love that about digital, that you can just see what you get immediately, and then, if it's pear-shaped, you can fix things.
Yeah, you can manipulate stuff definitely, but I think that like the starting point is that you always know there is a rush. I feel with everybody, rush about like you have a great shot, and then like working that shot later, like in whatever program that you want to choose. I'm interested in one thing. You mentioned that you went through school for photography, and here I have the you have the degree in photography. What is the degree in photography that you have? I'm sorry.
I have an associate diploma. It's called. I have an associate diploma in arts in photography, so which is 2 years. A degree is 3. I just did the 2.
Okay, and I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, what are the benefits of going through through a school, especially for photography?
I think being with other creative people is fantastic, and I felt that my course it was quite difficult because there was a science aspect to it with the science behind film, and we did lessons on lens focal lengths and heaven knows. It was quite intense. But on the other hand, we did also a large art elective in that, so that you looked at the work of very famous photographers or any photographers in vogue, and yes, just studied their work, and we had lectures by photographers, and I'm not sorry I did it at all. I think it was absolutely wonderful and worth it, really worth it.
Yeah, I mean that sense of community seems to be, because I mean, like when I'm talking to younger photographers, I'm telling everybody pretty much, like actually I was telling everybody, you don't need to go to school. However, I'm changing my mind a little bit, because exactly what you said, the sense of community, the sense of, you know, exchanging ideas, I think that is pretty much the best part of schooling.
I think as creative people, we just like to do, you know, we like to be hands-on and we like to do things. Whereas if you're doing a serious course, you've got to write essays and all of that sort of thing. It's much more academic, but really it's all learning, and it's all, and you definitely, I think you're better off doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, so what I wanted to ask you is this, portraits. I mean, that seems to be your favorite subject. I mean, it seems to be. Obviously, every photographer does a lot of stuff, but portraits are you know, by far the most represented. What is the reason for that?
I love street photography, and then when I started traveling, just you know, you meet all these unique people, and their faces are just so fascinating, and that's, yeah, I really have gravitated towards portraits now.
How did your, I mean, obviously portraits require, especially street photography, they require you to approach somebody. How do you go about approaching people, and where do you draw the line of not taking the photograph?
If they say no, definitely. If they say no, it's a no-no.
Yeah.
But I get asked this a lot by people, and I just say to people, you have to approach them with a smile. And I usually find that people are just as fascinated with me as I am with them. So you start off by pointing at your camera. Sometimes, of course, there's no language, so you point at your camera, can I take a photo? And then you say, oh, you look so lovely, or you have such a great beard, or, you know, you make some comment about how you find them interesting. And most people are very obliging. But as I said, if they say no, you just walk away and say thank you and just walk away. Unless, of course, if you happen, I mean, I do take sneaky shots. If I have a telephoto lens on, I will take totally sneaky candid shots when I can.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, we all do it. I mean, we all do it.
Yeah.
What is your preferred lens when you are photographing people? Because I mean, that is a interesting kind of subject for me, because I mean, I tend to kind of like gravitate toward longer lenses, but what is your
yeah, well, I like to cover faces, because I do take street shots as well, where I take in a whole scene. So I bought, I use Fuji gear, and I have a 16 to 55, and that covers everything for me, and it's so sharp. Even if I crop in on the computer, it's still very usable. So a lot of photographers would be horrified with that. Portrait photographers say, yeah, they like to shoot a telephoto or 105 or something along those lines. But when you're traveling in dirty, dusty countries, I don't like changing lenses all the time, and you miss shots, and you just forever getting your backpack off and fiddling about. So I like to go with a zoom that I have two bodies and two zooms, so I cover the whole gamut.
Yeah, I mean, like it sounds very, very reasonable, because I mean all this dust and it just it gets really messy if you're.
Yeah, in India, the streets are so dusty and dry, and yeah, you don't want to be taking off your lens all the time.
No. I mean, I fully agree with that, and yeah, I mean the zoom lenses are fantastic. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm kind of like going between 24-70 and then the 70-100. Those
Yeah,
are pretty
yes,
much
that's
what
all
I
you
try to
need.
do.
That's all you need. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, like Cartier-Bresson photographed his whole life with 50-millimeter lens. So I mean, it's just
I
if
know. I
it's
know. Yeah.
absolutely
Uh,
stunning to.
yeah.
I mean, zooming with your legs, like that's kind of the theory behind it. Uh, so I wanted to ask you about the preparation for a trip. I'm guessing like that changed over the years. What was it in the beginning? What was it now? The whole kind of spiel of you are going on a trip. How does that
Yeah.
happen?
I'm preparing at the moment because I'm going next month. I'm going back to India next month. And yeah, it's kind of full on, really. I'm planning on going to Ladakh. Um, I now have a driver in India who's a great friend. So that's no problem. The first time I went, I didn't know what I was doing. I just went by myself and just got there and didn't know what I was doing. Ended up in a travel agent's, and he recommended that I travel by train. Well, I went on one train trip. That was okay. I think I went to Agra, and then I was supposed to be going to the next place. Got to the train station, and it was running late, and it ended up it wasn't coming till 11 o'clock at night or something. So then I rang the travel agent and said, help, what on earth will I do? And he said, would you like me to send you a driver? And I said, oh, yeah, I think that might be best. So enter my driver, and things have been a lot simpler since. That makes it very easy, really.
Yeah.
And because he can take me to places that I don't know about, and off-road places, and with a car you can go anywhere you want. So that's the advantage.
So
And luckily, in
basically
India,
you're having a
it's
local
very nice people get around.
you're basically having a local guide, and then there's the research about a certain place, I'm gonna assume, without that, and then kind of talking to him and deciding together how do you.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about that today actually, because we're driving from Delhi to Ladakh, and he sent me an itinerary of places, but I really have no idea what they're like or so forth. And being a people photographer, I don't want to go places and look at beautiful scenery. That's when I'm on a working trip like this, I want to go where people are, and so I have to speak to him about that and make sure that we're not going out in the wilderness where there's nothing and nobody.
Yeah, I mean that
You know,
makes sense.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
Makes sense. I wanted to talk to you about one particular trip, and that is Bhutan. How many times did you go there? What was the attraction to Bhutan? And basically, I want to know everything about it. I mean, that's
Yeah, I've only been once, and I went there I was in Nepal, in Kathmandu, and it's quite easy to book trips to Tibet and Bhutan from Nepal. So I did that. I think I was there about 10 days or so. And there you have to have a driver.
yeah.
You can't not have a driver and a guide. And it was interesting. I think I would maybe prefer Tibet.
Mhm.
I think there was a lot more atmosphere and a lot more interesting things going on, say in Lhasa. Bhutan it's quite quiet, and it's not a buzzy place.
Mhm.
You know, it's very beautiful. The people are beautiful, and their traditional dress is gorgeous. And yes, it was wonderful. But actually, I think Tibet's more interesting for me. That's what I thought.
That was my following up question. Tibet also, I mean, super interested about Tibet. What is the atmosphere like? I mean, where did you kind of like go? How are the people?
Oh, yeah, I didn't travel very far in Tibet. I only went to Lhasa. Um, but that actually the same thing. You have to have a guide, and I went there from Nepal, and I met an American girl that had just come back because I thought you had to go in a tour, and I don't like going on photography tours or any tours. I like to go by myself. She said, "Oh no, you can go by yourself. You just go on a tour of one." So off I went on the tour of one. So the same thing. You just have a driver. And I thought all the time that I would have to be escorted around. I had heard that you can't just walk around by yourself, that they control everywhere you go. That wasn't true. I could just go anywhere I want. So I sort of ditched the driver as much as possible and just wandered around Lhasa for the whole 10 days or so. And it was fabulous. I loved it. Just loved it.
What about it is your probably favorite thing about Lhasa?
Well, the people. It's still very Tibetan, and that was another thing that surprised me. That I've travelled in China quite extensively. I went to uni in China for a while, so I was expecting it to be quite Chinese, but it's still they're holding on to their culture very firmly, and I thought that was a really good thing. And I did see a little bits of not aggression to Chinese people, but I noticed that some people in the tourist industry, they didn't really like speaking Chinese to the Chinese tourists.
Sure.
So yeah, yeah, but no, I thought it was fascinating. And I
Yeah.
felt really safe there, and yeah, it was great.
I mean, I had a very interesting conversation with like my first podcast was with Corinne Vachon, and she was telling me like she was going to Afghanistan and she was telling me that as a woman it was almost she felt safer. I mean, it's kind of like she was telling me that it's almost easier to travel because people are so inviting and helpful. I mean, is this your experience?
I think so. I really think so. And I think it's easier being a photographer when you're a woman in a lot of these places. I'm non-threatening, and yes, people will say, "Oh, you're here by yourself," and you say yes, and they find that quite amazing. And yeah, I think I get away with more as a woman.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally never thought about it up until, you know, I had this conversation, and really literally I was kind of like thinking, I mean, it didn't even occur to me that that could be the case, but when I started thinking about it, it's kind of like, yeah, that does make sense. I mean, like, you know, you're big, you're this, you know, like you're kind of like approaching people. It's just kind of yeah.
And I'm, you know, and I'm an older woman as well, so I think that helps.
It's just like finally.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, India seems to be your favorite place. I don't know, like I have that feeling. Am I wrong here or
I'm addicted. I'm addicted. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how did how did the addiction started?
It started by spending 2 weeks in Varanasi. That was my first touch. And I went there from Nepal as well. I love Nepal. I
I
love Nepal.
Nepal. We'll talk about Nepal definitely, but
And
India, I mean, when did you go for the first time?
2015.
Mm.
And my daughter actually, she'd been to Varanasi, and she said, "Oh, Mum, you've just got to go there." So I went from Nepal just for 2 weeks, I think, and I don't really like to go back to places. Once I've had, you know, a wonderful experience somewhere, I kind of like to put it away and savor it. Because I always think when you go back, it's always different and not as good. But I've been to Varanasi now about 3 times, I think, and it's always wonderful. It's
Yeah,
always fabulous.
I
It's
mean,
the colour and just the uniqueness and just the architecture. I mean, it's so ancient.
walk me through one day in Varanasi. When do you wake up? I mean, you told me that you're not a morning person, but I'm going to assume that for photography you become one because it's just necessary. I don't know.
Oh, because I'm terrible. I'm terrible. I'm a night person. So, yes, when I was in Varanasi, I did get up very early and do the boat trip to see the sun come up and those sorts of things. But no, I'm a bit slack in that regard. So, yes, I'm one of those people that have to end up photographing in the middle of the day when you shouldn't be. So, that's
People
me.
that not this time definitely, but yeah. I mean, do you believe in light? Do you believe in light in photography?
There's no photography, so absolutely light is the I'm okay in the twilight hours. I'm all right there in the
Sure, sure.
sunset. But yeah, like the quality of the light is everything really.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking, you know, to a couple of people for years that I don't believe in light. I mean, we all know what great light is, but light is light. So it's essentially this frame that you have and how you do it and what kind of comes out of it. Is it midday or
Yeah.
this golden light
I
that
mean,
you have? You have to work.
quite
I mean,
often, if I'm in the street and it is a real sunny day and in the middle of the day, I'll ask somebody to if they could move into the shade, or I put them in a more interesting background or something. And usually people are very obliging and
yeah.
they don't mind doing that.
So
I
tell me,
once
yes.
I photographed this mother, this beautiful young mother coming down the street with a baby in her arms. It was a very sunny day. So there was a beautiful ornate door close by. I said, "Oh, would you mind just standing just in front of the door there?" Took a photo with the baby in her arms. And when I was looking at it in Lightroom, I realized that she put the baby's head in front of this huge gold motif, and she looked like the Madonna with the baby with the halo around the baby's head. It's one of my favorite shots because it was just a mishap, and there you
Yeah.
go.
How many times do you go through your? I mean, when you're done with a trip, obviously you do your your editing and all that stuff, and then like year has passed, 2 years has passed. How often do you revisit those files, and how often you find something like that?
All the time. I'm doing that now because of COVID. I've been sitting here for 3 years, not doing much at all. So yes, I've been re-editing because you're learning all the time. So I like to re-edit. But yeah, I have so many rejects, and I think, oh no, that's okay. I can do something with that. But I'm lucky because I enjoy editing. I love it. I can sit here all day.
Yeah.
A lot of people they don't like it, but I do. So I find it very therapeutic. It's very restful, and I'll spend hours on a photograph sometimes. Just
Oh wow.
enjoy.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. I'm a different way. I mean, I love editing, but I do it in like under a minute. I mean, that's pretty much the extent of edits. Like I just don't do a lot of.
I'm the
Uh,
opposite. I fiddle around forever, and then I'm terrible as well. After I used to be like this in the darkroom as well. I'd do about 10 prints of something because I was never happy, and then I'd look at them all the next day, and I'd think, oh, the first one was better.
yeah.
It's I'm my own worst critic, so that.
No, definitely. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's a process. I mean, like I said, I judge only the final image, and how somebody got there is really none of my business. So that's how I look at it. Let's talk a little bit about exhibitions and your experiences there. I saw quite a few. You had quite a few exhibitions. So how do you go about those things?
Well, I was just lucky that I was asked. I was asked to contribute to the Atlas of Humanity,
Mhm.
and yeah, more recently the other one, I think it was in Iraq, and so I haven't done any exhibitions at home here. I did ages ago, went around all the local art galleries here, and they said that they weren't interested in photography, they just do paintings, so which is very disappointing.
Yes.
Um, to be honest, I don't make much effort in promoting myself as I maybe should.
Well, I mean that's usually the like almost everybody in photography are struggling with promotion, and I don't know, like something I guess has to click with the person to be able to go on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy with what I've been doing, and Instagram's been quite good for me as well because I've been contacted by a few magazines to do articles, and that's really great. I enjoy that.
Mhm. When did Instagram start for you? When did this journey start for you?
I think it must have been around 2015, I suppose. It would have been after I came back from my first trip to Nepal,
And
which is Nepal. I
yeah,
was there for the earthquake too, by the way. The day the massive earthquake happened, I was in Kathmandu, and
I mean,
it was dreadful. I was in a car. I'd gone to my hotel, and my room wasn't ready. So they said, oh, we'll drive you over to Patan and you can have a look and come back. And just as I was getting out of the car, it started going back and forth, back and forth. And I was half in and half out of the car, getting pulverized. And I thought the driver had gone insane or something. And
yeah, yeah.
then staggered out the car, and then I saw the concrete was falling from the buildings. So I ran to the middle of the road, and the road was undulating like water. It was going like that.
Oh my God.
It was terrifying. Yeah.
What
So
happened?
then,
Yes, go ahead.
so then the driver said to me, quick, get back in the car, and we'll try to get back to the hotel. But all chaos had broken out. It was just chaotic, and people were running and screaming, and all the traffic had stopped. And luckily there was this huge sports field not far away. So I thought that was the safest place to be. So I just ran onto this huge area of grass where people were congregating, and yeah, just looked for somebody to sit with. And but you could feel the earth shaking the whole time because the aftershocks were terrible. So yeah, it was unbelievable.
What happened to your hotel? Did it?
Hotel was fine, but when I finally got back to the hotel, everybody in the hotel was too scared to go up to their room, so we all slept on the ground floor. And every time it would start to shake, we would all run out up the street to this vacant block of land.
How many?
I managed. I was there for about 3 days afterwards.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, but so many people lost their homes, and yes, and it's still that way. You know, they haven't received compensation, and a lot of people are just still living on the streets because they lost their homes. But I was lucky actually. One of the guys that worked at the hotel, his family lost his home in the country, and so I had a GoFundMe site and raised enough money to rebuild his home. So that was really good.
That is amazing. Yeah, I mean that must have been I mean, Nepal is definitely one of my favorite countries. I mean, like I spent probably a month there photographing, and it was just incredible. And that news kind of like really hit hard because I mean I know the layout of these buildings, and you know some of them don't need an earthquake; they need just a sneeze, and you feel that they will collapse. So.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, are you having any plans to go back to Nepal?
Oh, definitely. I've been back numerous times actually since then. Um, I'll probably go back next year, I think, because I regard that as I have a holiday there. I think I regard that as a holiday because I just stay in Kathmandu and I do day trips and you know, eat out at the nice restaurants, and it's not as hard going as India.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean,
it's more relaxing, and I enjoy it very much.
where did you go in Nepal? Obviously Kathmandu, but what else have you seen there?
Um, Bhaktapur is my favourite place. That's
Yeah.
sort of a walled town. Have you been there?
Yes.
It's honestly that got hit very badly by the earthquake, and I'd left there on the day of the quake. I'd left an hour before and was in Kathmandu, so I escaped back to Pur. I love there, and also I've been up to Pokhara um, driving. I took a drive and I stopped at this other place. Oh, Bandipur. It's on the top of a mountain, and you can see the Himalayas from Bandipur, and it's like a tiny little village stuck on the top of a mountain, and no cars are in there, and it's just heaven. It's heaven. But when I was in Pokhara, which is famous for the views of the mountains, couldn't see a thing. Couldn't see a thing. It was too foggy, and you know, see a thing.
I have the folder number 9 in my Nepal trip is fucking mountain I hate you, because that happened to me. I went from Pokhara to this absolute like one of the most famous views ever, and as I'm going up, the fog is coming in. By the time
Right.
I reached up, and it was like 1.5 hours of hiking up.
Oh Lord.
It reached up, it was absolutely just covered. I mean, I made up by going on this track for like a week, so I have seen this Starry Night, and on top of the It is an incredible place, absolutely incredible place. I mean, I was there for Shivaratri, and I also
Oh, wonderful.
yeah, I highly recommend that. I mean, that is exceptional. And I kind of like I was back to back. I mean, like I went through to Kathmandu, and then in Bhaktapur the Color Festival is going
Oh,
on.
lovely,
So
yeah.
kind of like they're 20 days away, and I kind of like in the middle there was that track. So that trip for me was just the most spectacular thing ever. But then I realized also, like much like yourself, I mean, like landscapes are nice, but I want people. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I believe since COVID, you can actually see the Himalayas again from Kathmandu, which has been unheard of because it's the most polluted place in the world. But because of COVID, everything stopped, the traffic stopped and so forth. And there's
yeah,
been a beautiful view of the Himalayas from the Kathmandu Valley.
yeah. I mean,
How long, I don't
I
know.
I think I was just on the entrance of Kathmandu, and you can see the mountains. I mean, that was quite a few
I've
years.
never seen Kathmandu. Never, never.
Yeah,
It's
that's
always so polluted, and the air, the air is just like pea soup.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's just how that's the charm, I guess. I mean, I just love that just wandering around the city. Like you don't know where you are, and then you kind of like make this 5 or 6 the left and right turns, and all of a sudden you're in this place of absolute beauty. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
that's
best.
what I like to do. Yes, just wander around.
Yeah, no agenda, and I mean, I don't know,
No,
like that intense living, like people are saying, like, if you're photographing, you're not living as intensely, like I I absolutely disagree with that. I think that we are seeing way more because we're looking for those beautiful frames.
oh yes, I mean, although sometimes I'll just stand on a street corner or just sit in an outside coffee shop and wait for something to happen, and it always does.
Yeah, I mean, unlike you, when I'm photographing, my favorite time is the morning because I feel that kind of like the morning is where the people are the most open to anything. I mean, obviously, if somebody's drinking coffee, I'm not gonna go into their face and photograph, but they're just open. The previous day could have been absolute hell. There's a new day. Hopefully
Yes,
we'll push that aside, and you have this kind of window of probably 1 hour from like 5:30 to 6:30, and then 6:30 even the most busiest towns are absolutely deserted because I kind of like go out around 5, let's say, in the morning. It's absolutely to see the city that is just, but that 3 hours from that moment everything will explode is very interesting. I mean, I I I wonder about the new technology and the phones and all that stuff. What is your opinion really about using the phones and
well,
where is this going?
they're your lifeline. They're your absolute lifeline when you're traveling. I can ring home anytime I want on WhatsApp. I mean, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Um, I spent 3 months, 4 months in China when I went to university there, or now about 20 years ago or more. And that was before mobile phones. And it made it so much more difficult to keep in touch with people. But now with a mobile, it's
no
just
problem.
no problem.
Do you photograph with your phone?
No,
No,
no.
absolutely.
Of course I do, all the time. I photograph with, just, well, I was going to say stupid stuff, but not what I consider my work. I don't
Yeah,
use my
absolutely.
phone for that. But
I mean,
yeah,
are you thinking about the video a little bit now? I mean, especially like with these phones and the editing, and obviously like in the video is the I guess on Instagram it's very very interesting. I mean, people seem to be interested. Are you thinking that way?
If I want to do a video, I do use my phone, and even though I bought a Fuji X-H1, which is supposed to be the best camera for video, I never use it. I do use my phone for video.
Yeah.
I'm not very very good with the technical side of video, but I've been enjoying just making little videos from my still photos of late, just
Yeah.
making 1 minute compilations and adding a bit of music and so forth. I've been having some fun entertaining myself with that lately.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic thing. We didn't actually finish this Instagram story. It started, like I said, 7 years ago. Everybody who are doing Instagram, they know it takes a long time to kind of like, get to certain numbers of people, followers, which in the end, like everybody learns in the end that doesn't mean that much. Like it is the camaraderie, I guess, that is the biggest thing. Have you ever met anybody on Instagram and then meet them in real life, photograph with them or something like that?
Yes, I met this woman in Pushkar in India one day. I used to go to the same restaurant a little cafe every day on the street, and have a lemon pancake and a coffee. And I got there one day, and this woman was sitting there also eating a lemon pancake and having a coffee, and she had this big camera in front of her. We got talking, and we discovered that, yes, we were Instagram friends. So that was quite fun. We did the same thing every day.
I mean, you hung out from that moment on, I'm assuming.
Oh, well, yes, we went and had dinner and all of that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Did you photograph together?
No,
No.
I hate photographing with other people. I really do. Although, I mean, I have been on photographic trips around Australia that were great fun, and I loved every minute. But now I just like to do my own thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I wasn't a big fan up until Nepal changed that for me. I met this Italian photographer, and essentially he spent probably 10 years in Nepal, coming every year. And
Yeah.
I brand new to Nepal. I mean, completely and it was in Bhaktapur of all places. And essentially he was so open and nice, and literally we spent every moment together. He was literally telling me like, okay, this is where you stand, and there will be a woman coming in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, poof. And I mean, I'm talking about beautifully composed shots. He knew the light, everything, and he literally gave this to me as some sort of a present. And that was the moment that kind of thing switched for me.
Mm.
It was, I mean, I guess, I mean, I didn't really want to talk to photographers at all or anything before that. And then kind of was like, oh my God, I mean, it's a very interesting thing what collaborations can do.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. If you have somebody that really knows what they're doing and has been there before, it's a wonderful help.
It's a fantastic thing. So let's talk. I mean, I'm sure that like people who are starting up in the business of photography are like. Let's talk about a little bit about business of photography. What are you doing? Are you selling photographs, or where people can find your images? Like stuff like that.
No, not really. I have some photographs on Saatchi Art. I used to do a lot of minimalistic architectural graphic sort of things. I was into that before I started traveling, and I've sold a few of those on Saatchi Art, but nothing to call a business. And I have had a few people ask me for prints of my Indian sadhu shots, and yes, I'll sell those. But I don't actively promote myself as a business.
So
I don't.
basically, this is kind of like a hobby. You're looking at it as a hobby, or
Yes, yeah, yeah,
yeah, which is
definitely, yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that is
And
beautiful.
little projects will pop up every now and then. As I said, you know, like somebody will contact me and said, "Oh, can you write an article on Tibet with some photos or something?" And I'll do that, but not for any money. I never get paid. It's never.
Absolutely, absolutely fantastic.
Photography is so hard to earn a living at, though. Really, I think.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
because I have never been interested in shooting weddings or doing any of the where money is in photography. I've never been interested in that sort of thing. So it's just not my cup of tea.
Sure, sure. I mean, that's fair enough. So, I mean, I think that I would like to end this on the little question for the people who are, going into this, photography and all that. What would be your advice to somebody who is starting, in photography? What to do, what not to do? What would be?
Well, I guess it depends on what avenue of photography you want. I mean, you could be a journalist, a documentary photographer, or you could work for a newspaper. Um, or yeah, you could do weddings and school photos and all of that sort of thing. So you really have to sort of pick, because they're the only things where I think you earn real money at. Trying to become a magazine photographer is really very difficult. I think it's probably got a lot harder now as well. There's not so many documentary magazines such as like Life magazine, that there were around in the 1940s, 50s, 60s or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, so, really, I suppose find photographers that are in that field that you're aspiring to, and just study their work, study what they do, study their composition of their photographs and so forth. And yeah, just put yourself out there.
Who do you study? Who are the photographers that you study?
Yeah, well, I was sort of, because I was trained at uni in film, I was definitely into Diane Arbus, Mary Ellen Mark, Elliot Erwitt, Henry Cartier-Bresson. Of course, now I love Steve McCurry, I mean, obviously, or Jimmy Nelson.
We all do.
Exactly. But that's probably, yeah. I love Diane Arbus, the way she just photographs rather extraordinary, ordinary people on the street. I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, all the people that you mentioned are absolute greats. Sorry, heavyweights of photography. There is only one name there that I would probably add it in. It's Sebastião Salgado, who I believe is.
Yes, 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 yes,
I
yes.
mean, I went from Steve McCurry I was fixated on McCurry, but then when you find out about Salgado, McCurry kind of goes into second tier
Yes, yeah.
because
Salgado's images are far more atmospheric and more journalistically documentary style, I think.
it is incredible. I mean, I was fortunate to see his exhibition in St. Petersburg, and that was just I cannot even describe that. Like, I mean, every single thing. I mean, people are like, I mean, the thing is that I was trying to send some photographs on, I don't know what it is, so some sort of a website, all that, and the images were rejected because of the grain.
Oh,
I don't think that a single image of Salgado would be accepted in any of these things. I mean,
that's
no,
true.
because if the computer is determining is this good or not, I mean, we are in trouble, you know. Like, I mean, this cleanliness of the I like dirt. I really do. So I don't know,
Well,
that's kind of,
as a film photographer, we all lived with grain. Grain was,
yeah.
it was really part of the story.
I mean, it's very interesting that today, I mean, everything almost needs to be tool. I mean, they're just absolutely clean and little. I mean, they're obviously
Yeah,
incredible.
it's a bit of a no-no now.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
and
crazy.
I don't understand. I don't understand the reason for it, but that's the world, I guess, that we are entering. I
Yeah.
mean, what do you think? I mean, was there like their photography greats? I mean, obviously the names that you mentioned, uh, are they are there better photographers working today than then, but they just don't have the outlets as the
Oh,
old guys?
of course, of
Yeah,
course. I mean, honestly, there are some exceptional photographers on Instagram. They're
yeah,
wonderful photographers.
yeah,
But in the days of, Mary Ellen Mark and Diana Arbus, they photographed for these journalistic magazines, which were far more popular
yeah.
than today. It's about the paparazzi, isn't it? It's about celebrity and yeah, the paparazzi, but not so much the journalistic documentary style.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is kind of. I was doing some books, pretty much like cities, and one of the categories in these books was galleries, and I was kind of like going through galleries all around the world. So basically, in about 2.5 years, I visited probably 600 galleries, and it was kind of shocking how little photography is represented in the galleries.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think that is? Because I mean, some of the art on the. I mean, I basically after that trip, I realized that whole world is fueled by money laundering. I mean, that's what it is. Because some of the art walls is just kind of insulting everybody. I mean, really, just like what the hell is this? So I don't
I
know.
don't. I believe that. Well, they say that New York is the home of photography, but I've never been there, and so I don't know. But I know that there's a lot of photographic art galleries in New York, and photography is collected much more by people there. I don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
why. I mean, as I said, where I live, I don't see that it's valued in that way at all.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it was very very interesting, and yeah, it just wasn't there. And every time it would be there, it would be very very interesting, very refreshing. I don't know. So hopefully that tide will turn because I mean everything kind of goes full circle. So that is that. Well, thank you very much. This
Thank
was
you.
fun for
Thank
me, and yeah, I will stop recording